Joining us now by phone, former FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, now a Fox News contributor, long history in law enforcement, and very good to have you with us, Dan. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Sure. Happy to be here.
Dan, what is your best estimate at how long the FBI has had these images and why you believe they decided to release them today?
Well, they weren't brought in right away, the FBI, and there are basically two mechanisms to bring the FBI into an investigation. The first is fairly obvious, is federal jurisdiction. It's a federal crime. They come in, and I don't want to say take over. Nobody really takes over. We always work with local departments, but you get the point. The second is by request. The request, from what I'm hearing, came in a couple days, but appears to be now a couple days too late. This footage, it takes a great amount of expertise to get this footage, being that Nest video wasn't a subscription account. Mm-hmm. So my guess on this is that there had to be legal process served, because a lot of these companies are not going to give you this stuff without judicial process or legal process, to protect themselves later. So that takes time, getting search warrants and things like that. And also the material, given that it wasn't an updated subscription account, that Nest camera was likely cached, so it probably took a little bit to get, even with the rush. They will work with you, these companies, once they get processed to protect themselves legally. They will work with you. We've done it before on a number of high-profile cases. However, they can't make miracles happen. It still takes time to go and process that stuff. So I wish they'd been called in sooner, but, listen, I don't want a Monday morning quarterback these things. They may have thought it was a missing persons case, Martha. I mean, originally, if you remember, that's kind of how it appeared to have been handled. So, it's easy in hindsight to say that, and I don't want to do that. But if they were called in soon, we likely would have had these images much quicker.
So what do you learn when you look at this? We see the individual's eyes. We can kind of get a look at eyebrows. It looks like there's facial hair around his mouth. But you do get the feeling that if this was someone that you knew, you would recognize this person. Is that fair?
Well, I see a lot of things. There seems to be at some point, familiarity with the area. If you notice when he walks up, he has his head down. Maybe he thinks there's some surveillance camera outside he's missing. But then he seems, if you look, he seems surprised. I see it playing right now. He seems like he's going to knock on the door and then seems surprised by the presence of that doorbell camera right there. And then instead of having a simple item like a piece of tape, he goes out and grabs it in kind of amateurish manner, some plant that he tries to cover it with. It just seems quite odd. And another thing that sticks out to me is, having been not just in law enforcement, being a gun carrier my whole life, that's a very unusual way to carry a firearm. I mean, they have inside the waistband holsters. Now, I don't know what type of firearm it is. I can't see from the picture. I'm watching it right here. Maybe it's a revolver. I don't know. But that's an unusually large holster to be carried in that manner. A couple other things jump out at me. The FBI has a divert team, a digital video enhancement team. They're probably, I would guess, I know if I was working the case right now, and I'm sure Cash is right now, I'm sure they're working on this to pick apart everything. I would guess from looking at him in context of probably the archway, he's probably 5'9" to 5'11" or so they can get height. There's also features of the face that, although obscured by the ski mask, you can still use some of the tools to get something useful out of it. And another thing is this an insider or a local? Those aren't necessarily, they could be the same thing, but they don't necessarily mean they're the same person. In other words, an insider, is it, a gardener? Is it someone who was an electrician in the house? We've seen cases like this before where they're working inside the house, they realize someone has money, and they leave a window open and then come in and sneak through the window. Did that happen here? Or was it a local? Now, they could be both, but however, a local, was it someone in the neighborhood? Was it someone's kid in the neighborhood, or someone who is, maybe got a drug problem, who's staying with a parent or someone in or around the area that knows the area, knows it's dark? Those are the questions that are going to come up. And the reason I asked that is I had read a report about them taking DNA, buccal samples, DNA samples from people who had been in and around the house. Now, that's going to be critical to link up with our CODIS system, the DNA system, if they get a hit on that. You wouldn't be in there unless you had some reason to be in there. Swab was taken pursuant to a crime or some other reason. But it's better than nothing. It's a good start. And one final thing, Martha, I would add is the ransom related? You noticed yesterday from that really horrifying video Nancy Guthrie had to post, she doesn't, as has been said many times on the air, address the kidnappers anymore. So I had mentioned 3 possible scenarios last night on Sean's show. One being, is it a kidnapping for ransom, which is the story, everyone thought was possibly going to happen there. And then the second story was this a crime or a burglary that just went wrong? And maybe he didn't expect anyone to be home. She opens the door. Some incident happens. She bleeds. It's looking more likely that it may be scenario 2. I don't know that. I don't want to get out ahead of the investigation at this point. But this looks like it could be that one.
Yeah, it just raises so many questions. So if this was a robbery, it seems kind of odd that you would, if she died in the course of this, and we hope with all of our hearts that she is out there and that he is keeping her somewhere and that she will be home. But would there be any other reason? Does it tell you that she might be alive, that there was no body in the home?
Yeah, I mean, in cases like this, especially given the area and the ability to dramatically expand your field of vision on surveillance. In other words, things we didn't have when I left the Secret Service, I shouldn't say we didn't have, but they weren't as pervasive. The use of really, really high-end drone technology. Drones were in their infancy back then. Now that I went back into law enforcement as the deputy over there at the Bureau, not only do we have really incredibly high-tech drones now, but the camera technology, Martha, whether it's FLIR, infrared, thermal, if it's a body, it's dead, you're going to have, obviously, the thermal be an issue. But with the ability to surveil over large areas, with a woman that age who's not very ambulatory or mobile, it does create a lot of questions that we haven't found a body yet. It's really not that easy given the ubiquitous nature of ring cameras, surveillance cameras, street cameras, LPRs, license plate readers, and everything else. It's not that easy, thankfully, to take someone against their will and just disappear and leave no digital trace. I heard it referred to by an excellent commentator, James Galliano. He said digital exhaust. That's an accurate way to put it. It's the tailpipe out of that digital tailpipe. Like, to leave none of those signs, and I don't believe many of those were left behind, is very unusual. If you get on that scene early, it is very difficult to not only get away from a scene by yourself, but to get away from a scene with someone who's obviously not voluntarily leaving with you. Yeah, that's really difficult.
We heard about the pacemaker, and we've, heard from Savannah Guthrie that, as I just said, that they believe that that their mother is alive. There was all this about the pacemaker disconnecting from the Apple phone. A pacemaker does not stop working if it is away from the Apple phone. It just isn't syncing anymore with that Apple phone. But the pacemaker goes on and on and on in a person's body, regardless of their condition. That's just one potential digital data point in this story, right, Dan?
And as I had discussed with Sean last night on his show, I'm in a little bit of a difficult position, obviously, Martha. I don't want to give up some of the technologies. I know you understand that we have and we use, because it gives the perpetrators here a way to kind of circumvent or take protective measures. But what you're saying there about technologies, even things like pacemakers, a lot of electronics out there leave a trail, and I think you can kind of put 2 and 2 together in this, new surveillance environment we're in, where, every company on earth is putting a cookie on your phone every time you go to their website.
Sure.
That it's very, very difficult for someone to be removed from a scene, and for no digital footprints to be left behind. And that's where, if the FBI was brought in a little bit sooner, those things go stale. Time is definitely your number one enemy when you work in cases like this. I just think back to the past year I was there, having handled the, Israeli diplomat shooting, the Coeur d'Alene incident, the 2 incidents in Minnesota, Palm Springs. You have to be on these scenes right away. These once those, they're like kind of digital footprints in the sand. The more the wind blows, you lose the detail and the footprint that would assist you, in getting to the bottom of the case. And that's another point about, I heard it brought up earlier by some of the commentators on the network. The clothing. Is the clothing unique? I know in prior cases we worked, especially some towards the end, the clothing was a big indicator. Some of this stuff is easy to track down if, and that's a big if it's limited edition. I think there was one case we worked where only something like 5 or 6 pairs of these sneakers had been sold in the general vicinity, and that AOR, that area of responsibility that FBI team was looking at in their AOR. So that kind of limits it. So the clothing is going to be could be really helpful, and I know, I'm sure of it, that they're going through that right now, scrubbing purchase histories local in the area. It goes back to what I said before. Is this an insider or a local? If it's a local and this wasn't pre-planned and it was a burglary that went really bad and horrifically bad, then it's likely that they didn't travel out of town to get that clothing. I mean, we'll see. If it's just mass-produced, then it's not going to be of much help.
Just one last quick question from your own experience at FBI. We know that the family, and I want to just reiterate again, that the family has said that they believe that their mother is out there, that she is alive, that obviously this is a big piece of information and it is being widely circulated today, and they hope it's going to lead to Nancy Guthrie's recovery. That they also said that the family does not know this person based on the video, and this is a really good shot right here of the eyes of this person. Would they would have been, how would it work? Would they would all be shown this video, the family members, and say, well, okay, we're going to release it publicly, tomorrow, or in 4 hours or something like that? Is that how it might work?
Well, here's how I would have worked it. Obviously, as I had indicated before, you always suspect people in that kind of inner circle first. I wish it weren't that way, but whether it's kidnappings, sometimes crimes of passion, there's people in those inner circles you're going to go to first. So my guess is that being that they eliminated no suspect early on, everyone was, and I mean everyone was likely investigated in this, they probably showed it to each family member individually, and we're hoping that something, the clothing, the height, the eyes, the reflections off the face, anything would, oh yeah, I recognize that jacket or that backpack. The backpack seems kind of, I don't want to say unique, but seems interesting, the backpack. When that didn't happen, you really had a lead. So I know in some of the high-profile investigations Cash and I were on, we had to make a decision early on, when do you go to the public knowing you're running the very real risk that the perpetrator in the case, the perpetrator knows it's him. He's there on the video. It's not a mystery to him. I mean, I think that's fairly obvious. So when they see themselves in the video, Martha, sometimes they'll start to panic because they know things. They were the ones who were there. So you always run the risk going to the public for help. Are we going to tip off the perp who's now going to panic and maybe exit this, exit the area, and then he's in the wind and they're hard to find? We erred many times on the side of getting the information out there. And in one specific case, I remember, looking at Cash, and I said, listen, this guy's probably sitting in a Burger King or a McDonald's somewhere, and someone's going to recognize this person. We got to get it out. And he agreed. So that's probably what happened. They figured, let's check if it's someone inside or a local electrician, a plumber, someone they may have known. And if they don't, we got to go to the public. We need their help.
Yeah. Great insight, Dan Bongino. We're grateful to you for making some time for us today. We thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.